Good morning, members, officers, and any members of the public who are viewing the live stream of this meeting. And welcome to this meeting of the Employment and Staffing Committee. My name is Councillor Sally Ann Hart, and I am the Vice Chair of the committee. The usual Chair of the committee, Councillor William Jackson Wood, has sent apologies. Therefore, I will be assuming the role of Chair for this meeting. As such, we need to appoint a Vice Chair. And I'd like to propose that Councillor Anna Bradnam to assume the role of Vice Chair. Do I have a seconder for this? Thank you, Councillor Stobart. And can I take this nomination by acclamation? Agreed. Thank you. I'd like to invite Councillor Anna Bradnam to come and join me. And while that's happening, I'll make some housekeeping announcements. Please can those present in the council chamber note that everything on your desk, including your laptop screen, is likely to be broadcast at some point. And that the camera follows the microphone being switched on. So councillors and officers are advised to wait a couple of seconds before speaking to allow the camera to catch up. Please can anyone participating in the meeting via Teams indicate that you wish to speak via the chat column. Please do not use the chat column for any other purpose. Please ensure that your microphone and camera remain off unless you are addressing the committee and that they are on when you are speaking. Committee members present in the chamber, I will now invite each of you to introduce yourself. Members, after I call your name, please turn on your camera and microphone, wait 2 seconds and say your name so that your presence can be noted. As I said earlier, my name is Councillor Sally Ann Hart, and I am the member, or one of the members, for the Melbourne ward. And my Vice Chair is Councillor Anna Bradnam.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Councillor Anna Bradnam, and I'm one of the members for Milton and Waterbeach ward. Thank you.
Councillor Sunita Handraj.
Microphone. Your microphone.
Sunita Hansraj, Councillor for Histon, Impington and Orchard Park.
Thank you. I'm mindful, members, there's a lot of banging going on behind us, so we might need to speak even louder today. Thank you. Councillor Mark Howell is not present at the moment. Councillor Richard Stobart.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Richard Stobart. I'm one of the members for Girton ward, which includes the villages of Dry Drayton and Madingley.
Thank you. And Councillor John Williams.
Hello, I'm Councillor John Williams. I'm a member for Fenditton and Fulham ward, and I'm also the lead cabinet member for Resources.
Thank you. I can confirm that the meeting is quorate. Today we are also joined by the Head of Transformation, HR and Corporate Services, Jeff Membry.
Good morning, members.
Thank you. And we also have Helen Cornwall, HR Service Manager, to present the reports.
Good morning.
Thank you, Helen. So item number 1 on our agenda is apologies. Can I ask the Democratic Service Officer, Lawrence, if there are any apologies for absence today, please?
Thank you, Chair. We've just received the one apology for absence, and that's from Councillor Will Jackson Wood.
Thank you. Item number 2 on our agenda is declarations of interest. Do any members have interest to declare in relation to any item of business on this agenda? If an interest subsequently becomes apparent later in the meeting, please would you raise it at that point? No declarations to note. Thank you. Item number 3 on our agenda of our agenda are the minutes of the previous meeting. Are members content to approve the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 2nd of May 2023 as a correct record, or would any members like to make any amendments? Councillor Bradman.
Thank you, Chair. It's no amendment. I've just confirmed that our last meeting, at item 6 in the minutes, we talk about the date of the next meeting being 28th of June at 2 p.m, which was correct at the time, but subsequently I understand we changed the time of this meeting today to 10 a.m, as many other meetings were also changed to 10 a.m. So just to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments about the minutes, members? No? Can I therefore take approval of these minutes by affirmation? Agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. The committee therefore agrees the approval of the minutes as a correct record by affirmation. So moving on to item number 4 on our agenda, it's the review of the hybrid policy. The committee is being asked to note this report, make recommendations for any further actions that should be added to the action plan laid out in Appendix 1, and agree to receive a further update in a year's time. And I'd like to thank the HR Service Manager, Helen Cornwall, who's going to present the report.
So good morning, members. So we have reviewed our hybrid policy, which is attached in the appendix, and fundamentally not made any substantial changes. So the review of the policy essentially is seen as a really positive thing for staff, and whilst there are a number of authorities and organisations that choose to have quite a fixed policy in terms of how that hybrid approach, we believe that it's best, in order for us to keep it flexible for our workforce, so that it can meet the needs of each individual service and area and team and organisation. So a lot of the positive things that have come out of the report are aligned with things that are national coming out of the hybrid work agenda. So things like being able to recruit from a wider pool, giving flexibility for people like carers and people with childcare responsibilities. And we also surveyed members, and members found that the introduction of a more hybrid working arrangements was positive, and again for very similar things in terms of reduction of travel and being able to fit your other responsibilities around being able to also attend meetings and things like that. There's also in there about the customer output. Obviously there's been a lot of surveys recently in connection with also the 4-day week, but our statistics in terms of KPIs have not been affected since we've introduced a more hybrid model, and we've had the recent customer contact survey, of which the results are in the appendix as well, around maintaining those standards whilst we continue to do that. So obviously within the action plan there are a number of recommendations that we know we need to continue to develop what we want. So one of those things is around making sure our managers feel trained in how we support hybrid. It brings different issues out that we need to address. So, and making sure that our development needs for our staff are addressed, and that there aren't any differentials between those people that are coming into the office and those people that choose to kind of work in a more hybrid fashion. We've also acknowledged that we need a digital skills audit and review. So that's to ensure that people are using the digital and software skills effectively, and that any gaps in that, in order for us to be able to work efficiently. And then I think one of the other two kind of key things to come out of that action plan is how we address induction and new starters. Obviously, historically, when you come into an organisation, you get a feel for the organisation. When you're sitting in a team, you get to know those key players, bump into people. So we need to address how we kind of try to recreate that in a different way to make sure that everybody coming into our organisation really understands. And running alongside that is just really a review of the brand of SCDC to make sure that we, people coming here all understand what we're about and what we're trying to achieve, so that we really all have the same positive experience of what it's like to work here. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you for the report, thank you, and for summarising it there as well. Do we have any questions? Thank you, yes, Councillor Richard Stobart.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Helen and Jeff. The hybrid policy is kind of an essential these days, and I was just reflecting on some of my career. Back in the 70s, people were pulling to go hybrid, and it was regarded as a good thing, particularly in cases of heavy workload and people needing to focus and so on. But I think in the detail, and you've touched on one or two of the, I think, particular pressing points, and could I just highlight two? One is IT provision, and you've commented on the review, and that's part of the action plan, as I understand. But of course, somebody sitting at home with a slightly dodgy internet connection can really be detached, can get detached. They can do their work and typing and so on. But as for integrating with their team, that can be quite difficult. And just IT skills, can I fix a thing, without having to call IT services out because I'm at home. So I'd value a comment on that. Also on how teams work, because various comments in the press, particularly post-lockdown, I'm thinking like the business press, were around the possibility for certain groups to become detached if you had a hybrid meeting. Those who could push their case more firmly, who were physically present, would always have an advantage over those more diffident members who were connected remotely. So it points to things like excellent chairing of hybrid meetings. I'm wondering how you're addressing that. And then just as a footnote to all of that, I think in team working, it's really valuable. It may not sound terribly practical, but it's really valuable just knowing where your fellow team members are physically. Are they at home or in the office? Are they travelling? Are they off sick? And I think you get almost a sense of that if you're at work in an office, but you don't if you're a bit detached. I wonder if there's some way, well, certainly I'd be interested in your comment on that, but also how could we do that in the hybrid circumstances? Just give people a feel for where all of their colleagues, I mean, we're talking about half a dozen people perhaps, but where are they and how can I get to them? And so on. So there are a couple of questions. I have more, but let's stop there and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Is that coming to you, Helen, or Jeff?
Coming to me initially, I think. Yeah, it is important that we have good quality IT. Now, certainly where we've got the ability to deliver that, we're ensuring that actually what we're using is up to date. We're currently in a process of rolling out new laptops for officers because some of the laptops that we're using are now sort of 4 or 5 years old and perhaps are not up to the standard that we have at the moment. That we need at the moment. So that's happening right now. In terms of people working where they've got issues at home, people aren't banned from coming into the office. Now, obviously, if people don't have the facilities to work from home, people can still come in. We still offer all of the facilities here. There's not much we can do about people's home internet access. That's the difficulty. But as I think you've seen, we now have moved all of our own officers onto the first floor so that you've got that sense of community. So if someone's coming in, even if somebody from their team doesn't happen to be in the office, they'll have somebody sitting near them who they'll know, who they'll be regularly interacting with. So we have got that. We have got that sense of community that we're trying to build. We've told all teams that they need to get together at least twice a month as a team, so that people keep that personal interaction. Because I think we all agree that's really important. One of the things that we have noted is that there's a danger when people are working from home that sense of team can drift away. In terms of the managers keeping tabs on people, we're giving our managers the skills that they need to do that, both in terms of a pack that Helen put together, actually, that's gone out to managers, but also running Leadership Academy training. That's happened for one group of managers already this year, and we're just planning the next group. And a big part of that is giving managers the skills that they need to understand how people are doing, to keep an eye on people, and to make sure that they're still building that rapport with the team and they understand how the team are thinking. So it is more challenging for managers who have to operate in a very different way. As you rightly say, if you happen to be sitting with people and you know where they are on a regular basis, that builds a certain type of camaraderie. but actually we're also finding it's easy for people to get together as a team using that, for example, it's confusing because it's called Teams, but Teams to get to use the team system. So actually, if you've got people that are out and about, like some of our planners, for example, that go out on site quite a lot and spend a lot of time on the district, actually it's a lot easier for them to get together virtually as a team a couple of times a week, just spend 10 sort of 15 minutes chatting about what they're doing and where they're going. That actually they wouldn't have been able to do if they were primarily office-based. So that there are sort of swings and roundabouts. But yeah, we are very aware of the fact that managers need to be given the skills to manage in a very different way. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that, Helen?
I suppose the only thing is, obviously, yes, we've identified around the leadership and the skill set that we need to provide for managers. And like Jeff said, we've already put out a toolkit which details a number of different things that managers can use within their team. We've also rolled out team charters, which quite clearly, teams then can manage their own expectations within their team about how they communicate and how they do. So we will continue, like Jeff said, alongside the Leadership Academy to provide managers with those tools, and ideas about how they can recreate those kind of things in a hybrid manner.
Does that answer your questions, Councillor?
Chair, thank you very much through you, Chair. Thank you to Jeff and to Helen. Just one perhaps follow up to that team effectiveness and team leadership. Are there, we've talked about metrics and performance metrics and ultimately KPIs, which are the result of effective teams. Are there any intermediate metrics that could be applied just to check progress?
Yes, the Council is actually very focused on not only the key KPIs, which are reported in the performance indicators, but actually on management information systems. And what we're looking to do is strengthen management information systems across the Council. We've got some areas that have traditionally been really good at the information they provided. And again, the planning department is a very good example of that, where you've got tools that are providing up to the minute information on what's happening across the teams. And we're looking to learn from that and roll that out to all managers. So they've got live dashboards wherever possible. That's going to take probably about a year to 18 months to roll out across the whole of the Council. But one of the key aspects is learning from when there is good practice and making sure that we give that good practice to everybody in the Council. So yeah, there's again, different services have different metrics in their management information systems, but most services have got them. And where they haven't got them, they're going to be introduced. Not only that, but leadership team, which meets weekly, are going to monitor some of those key indicators on a weekly basis so that we can see if things start to move in the wrong direction. And then it's always easier to head off a problem than it is to deal with it once it's developed. So yes, management information systems are an important part of how the Council is going to work moving forward.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, through you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Bradman.
Thank you, Chair. I just had couple of requests on the actual report side for when this comes back in a year or whenever. Can you remind us what CIPD is? And also, I know it sounds obvious, but it would be really useful to have a definition right at the very beginning of the report saying what hybrid working is, because it doesn't say it, and it becomes obvious, but because in times to come, this might become such a normal thing that we forget what it was, if you see what I mean. Okay, so, but the substantive questions are, I was thinking about the business of people being hybrid working at home, and I'm pleased to see that there's the distinction between those who are on the go and those who are desk-based. And I wondered if there are sort of set restrictions on those who've got access to highly confidential data, finance or personnel data, or that they can only work in a particular way, maybe only in the office or only on a specific device? And or is that all managed by electronic gateways, as it were? And secure logins and such like. And if I may, I've got a second one, but I'll pause on that one if I may. Through you, Chair.
Thank you. Helen, this is one for you.
Thank you. Yes, we don't place specific restrictions as such on people, but obviously those employees who are aware that they deal with confidentiality, well, all of our employees have to go through GDPR training and things like that, and all of our officers have to use council devices which have got the IT systems in place to ensure that they're, you know, secure and things like that. We've obviously moved away from a lot of paper and physical attributes, and so the majority of our data is stored electronically, which is obviously protected by the council's network information systems. But we do obviously reiterate to all staff that they have to be mindful that if they are working in a public place where they can see, you know, things, and they are working in a confidential nature, that they must, you know, obviously adhere to the same principles as they would if they were in the office. And often in the office, you know, we've got a very open plan, so you have to be mindful all the time of what you're dealing with and who around you might be able to see something. So I think the principles run through in terms of officers, regardless of whether you're here, working in another office or working at home. And even at home, yes, we have to be mindful of the data
sort of
confidentiality.
Simple stuff like locking your computer when you go off and make a cup of coffee. That's
absolutely.
Okay.
Can I just add one small thing to that? In the unlikely event that a device is lost or stolen, it can be wiped remotely. So actually all of the confidential data will be removed from any device.
Oh, good. That's useful to know. Thank you. Okay, so the second one is, it's a bit convoluted. You said in your presentation, Helen, that the members had been asked, been involved in the information gathering about the hybrid policy, and I wondered if that was members being asked as users of services provided by the officers, or whether that was as users of remote working themselves. Because in this document, I can't see any reference to members being actually, sorry, it's a bit of an esoteric point, but being part of the council and using this too. I know we are, so in other words, that we effectively are by default hybrid workers as members. And I just wondered whether those questions were being asked of members as remote workers, which we are, or whether we were being asked as members who are trying to access people who are maybe working from home. Do you see what I mean? And it's just a feeling that, right, so if you're trying to work remotely, obviously we have an IT help desk, and as members we have an IT help desk, but I just wondered whether there is the same amount of consideration being given to members who are working from home in a rather different way to the, you know, we haven't got access to the same kind of files and things. I mean, okay, we've got Modern Gov, but I just wondered whether there's the same consideration given to members as there are to staff.
Thank you, Councillor Edinburgh. I'd just like to welcome Councillor Mark Howard to the meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. It is courtesy normally that I would apologise for my late behaviour, but since I was attending my grandson's sports day, I don't apologise at all.
Thank you. Helen, over to you for that.
Yes, so I'll respond in terms of the member survey. The member survey was sent out to gather information in both of those aspects, actually. So interestingly, to see what your feedback is in being able to work in a more hybrid way, since obviously the meetings have now become hybrid, and whether there's positives and also opportunities for continued learning, which I think is reflected a little bit in the report. And similar to officers, I think, in terms of that, making sure there's equality in both the people in the room and the people that attend online. But it was also to gather information in terms of how you interact with the officers who are working hybrid. So yeah, in answer to your question, it was a dual purpose.
Just on the technology issue, we're continuing to work with 3CICT to give members increasing access to being able to share documents and diaries with officers. With that, a significant step was made forward last month when members and officers can share elements of Office 365, and we're still working towards delivering improved communication through Teams, which will allow joint teams of members and officers, and I say the sharing of documents.
Thank you. Councillor John Williams.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you to Helen and Jeff for the review. I think I want to emphasise that our hybrid policy is at the core of our transformation programme and also our 4-day week. And without this flexible hybrid policy, neither of those would be possible and successful. So thank you very much for the review. Personally, I think that the way that we work in this council is very productive, and you know, we are one of the leading councils in this, and we certainly will continue to be so. And again, as I say, I thank you very much for the review and the support that you've been given members. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have any other questions? I've just got just a comment. Oh, sorry, Councillor Stoker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to mention how useful that CIPD report was. It was very helpful. I wondered if South Cambs had actually participated in that survey as an organisation.
I don't believe that we did on this occasion, no. Okay. But it was a very useful report.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I looked at that a little late in the day. I mean, it should be read alongside the report. It's full of useful comments. And one of the recommendations that come through that report for policymakers, and I guess we fall into that category of policymakers, was myth busting. And of course, we're doing myth busting all the time. And I think in regard to things like hybrid working, which some of our residents might not understand, then we like to tell the facts about how things are. And so we generally have very good flow of communication about how things are going, and that's one of the pleasures of being a member of this committee. But for our colleagues who may not be in kind of day-to-day contact with those kind of good reports of, for example, hybrid working, what's the best way of getting that information to them? Do we publicise this well? Is there information on Insight, for example, which we could encourage other members to go and look at to help appreciate the progress that's being made and the things that are being done?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, we have a weekly bulletin that goes out to all members and officers, for example. In the one that's going to come out, I think later on this week, for example, there's going to be a link to a video which talks about the work that's being done in the planning service. Now, there's the opportunity perhaps for us to look at doing something similar in relation to hybrid working, because actually that's often an easy way for people to get the information when it's convenient for them. They just need to click on the link and look at the video. So I'll discuss that with some other officers outside this meeting and see if that's the best way of disseminating the information.
Through you, Jeff, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, members. I did look up CIPD because it wasn't on the tip of my tongue, and I've got that as the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. Councillor Mark Howe.
I'm so sorry, Chairman. The problem is we're coming in late. You don't know if this question has already been answered, so I'm going to ask a question. With regards to people who are working out of the office, if I just use that generic term, and they're dealing with confidential information, can you tell me what's happening there, please?
You only just missed that one, but we'll go over it again if that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, in essence, it's very similar to what's going on in the office in terms of making sure that all staff are trained in GDPR and confidentiality. And actually, as we move away from a lot of physical documentation, things are stored, which are then protected electronically by our IT systems. But staff are also given information and told about making sure that there is an awareness of where they are working, and so whether that's in the office, at home, or in a public space, mindful of the information that they've got.
Chairman, again, on the risk that this has already been said, when I, in the past, had to work in an environment which everything was very confidential, we had certain screens put on, and unless you were right in front of them and within a certain distance, it made no difference to somebody who was looking at them. May I give some advice that be looked at if certain highly confidential things are being looked at? I'm assuming more in the housing department than anywhere else, but it could be right throughout the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There's nothing else. I think the only other thing I just spotted, there was a missing full stop on page 22 in the box that comes just before, although they may have some predetermined hours, location, requirements, and then it's got individuals in the team, it's got capitalised. I think there's a full stop. So members, we're invited to make recommendations regarding the action plan, and I think there have been some actions that have come through that, and obviously will be on the minutes and will be recommended. To agree a further update in a year's time, does that sound like the right length of time? Lovely. And I think you already mentioned, Jeff, that there'll be some information there that may well be coming changes within that timescale as well. So thank you. And we're just now invited to note the report. So can I say that we've noted? Thank you. Thank you, members.
Sorry, just, no, that's on the next one.
Next one, lovely, thank you. Okay, on item number 5 on our agenda is the HR recruitment, retention and absence data for May 2023. And we're being invited to, again, note the report. And thank you again, Helen, for presenting this report to us.
Thank you, Chair. So it was agreed previously you got a lot more statistics. However, what we are trying to do is give you some more real-time data. So our HR system now allows for us to give you data on a much more up-to-date basis. So what you've got here is the stats for last month. And so, as you can see, the turnover stats for the last month are relatively low. These are voluntary turnover stats. Obviously, we can give you stats that compare to other points in the year if that's helpful, and I guess some feedback in terms of whether there are different things that you want to see. And we are also looking to develop some recruitment and retention statistics as part of the 4-day week programme. And like I've put in there, we're starting to look at surveying staff that have been here for about 6 months to look at how we are retaining staff or what we might be able to do to stop staff leaving. And we're also hoping to launch the new recruitment module, which will, again, give us a wealth more stats in terms of recruitment and things like that. In terms of our absence data, it has increased slightly from last month, but compared to last year is relatively stable. And again, we aren't able to give you, because the reduction in numbers, we're not able to break down those statistics without sharing like information that may be deemed confidential. So you've got kind of an overview of the month there. But again, if that would be helpful to do that on a comparison against the year target, then, you know, we can do that as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Anna Bradman.
Thank you, Helen. You can see I'm looking at this on paper, but I also did look at it online, and either way I found these white on blue boxes almost impossible to read. I don't know if that's just my eyesight, but I found it very hard to read them. And I don't know if that's just a product of the way the output from a standard software package is doing it, but I just wondered whether it was possible to do it black on white or something like that, you know, whatever. But I think it was partly, it was just very small. But anyway, one of the things I found myself asking with a lot of this data, and I'm referring to the table in the middle of page 35, for example, it's days lost working for the current period and the previous period. It's not clear whether the previous period it's referring to the comparator period is the previous month or the previous year. It just doesn't say. So we're not quite sure if we're looking at like for like last year or last month. I just wondered whether this is something that is you're finding useful. I think it'd be useful that it does come back to employment and staffing, but I just wondered if this is a format or that you find helpful and gives you hooks if you've got things that you're worried about and gives you early warning of things. Thank you.
Helen, would you like to come back on that?
Yes, certainly. So this is part of one of our standard reporting packages, and I can certainly look at changing the colour and try and make that a bit bigger as well. Yes, apologies that it doesn't say, but it is compared to the previous month. So, but we can compare on a number of different things. The package is huge and gives us all sorts, so it's really trying to drill down. My team do look at this on a monthly basis, and obviously they have the finer detail, and so we look at those and we use those to determine what interventions that we might need to take, or if there's an area of concern. So, you know, if, for example, stress has increased, what mechanisms can we put in place? So yes, we definitely use this data considerably, but obviously it's more in the detail. So this just gives you an overview.
If members have got any specific information that isn't included in this and they would like, please let us know. We'll look to make sure that that goes in future. And this is actually the format that's used for our managers as well as for members. So actually this is a really good investment of time by the HR team, because it provides something that's useful across the board. So yes, it is certainly used, not only by the HR team, but by the managers generally.
Thank you, thank you. One of the benefits of looking on the screen is that you can make it bigger,
yes.
So I found that's what I did. Councillor Richard Stobart.
Chair, thank you. With regard to retention and absence, there are a few things going on. Of course, we've just been talking about hybrid working, which has its own set of benefits and effects on the workforce. There's also the 4-day week. And I'm wondering how you might tease the effects apart, if you will. It may be very difficult to do, but Helen, you were just saying that the package, sorry, Jeff, perhaps, but you're saying that the package is very capable. But I wonder if it might be, and this could be based on timescales and when things happen and so on, but could we begin to see the effects, different effects, and to be able to place some numbers on them?
Yeah, I might hand over to Helen in a minute, but as part of measuring the impact of the 4-day week, the HR team are developing a range of indicators, particularly around recruitment, to find out how influential the fact that we're running a 4-day week pilot has been in terms of people who apply for jobs and who accept jobs. I'm not quite sure how far that package has developed. Helen, are you in a position to update us on that?
Yeah, so in terms of a package, so there are a number of different surveys that we're trying to do. One, like I've said, about those people that have applied for jobs but haven't been successful but have been interviewed. Obviously, we rely very much on honesty, and you know, some people may not want to admit that they're coming to work here just for the 4-day week. So or for another reason. So, but we are starting to collate that data. So certainly on application forms now we ask why people want to come and work here. So we're going to do the follow-up survey for people who have been interviewed but haven't been successful in terms of whether they might look to reapply for a job here. And then the survey, which will be kind of like a stay interview. I think the current kind of thinking is, so talking to people who've been here 6 months, like, you know, how have you found it being here? What have been the positives? And then looking to kind of look at that group of people that have got the potential, you know, to maybe look elsewhere. How do we keep them in the organisation?
Thank you, Helen. That certainly answers my question about the survey of those who have been unsuccessful at interview. I was trying to work out what that constituted, so thank you. Councillor Stowett, does that answer your question?
It does, Chair, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Councillor Sunita Hansraj.
I'm just curious, have you had anybody saying they'll leave and once the 4-day week came in, they decided not to?
We do offer every person who wants to leave the organisation an exit interview, and one of those questions is around, you know, has there been any impact? But I don't have the data in front of me, so I'd have to have a look at that. But it is something that we try to collate, as well as any feedback on our hybrid provision, as well as feedback on IT, skills and development, learning opportunities. So there's, you know, everybody has the opportunity to either meet with someone in the HR team or to complete the form online, and we gather that data. And again, it's something that we use then for interventions in terms of what can we do if there are a lot of people saying the same thing, where there are issues.
Thank you, thank you. It'd be interesting to know if anybody changed their mind and didn't leave because of the 4-day week, perhaps. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Any other questions, members? Comments? Councillor John Williams.
The only comment I'll make is an obvious one, is that you know, it's early days, but the recruitment of staff and the filling of those posts, you know, for many years I've sat here and listened to us not able to fill posts, and the information we've got, the report here is very encouraging, that as a result of the 4-day week it would appear that we are now not in that position.
Absolutely, lovely to see that we're having applications and, yeah, able to recruit to posts. Thank you.
I was just going to say, if that's okay, Chair, that it's difficult to know whether it definitely is the 4-day week, but I think members will be aware that there were particularly 3 posts in planning that have been vacant for a long time, that funnily enough then got filled very quickly after we started the 4-day week trial. Now, you can't say that that was definitely the 4-day week, but I think it's a little bit more than a coincidence.
Yeah. Having that flexibility. Yeah, thank you. So members, we're actually, if everybody's finished with our invitations to note this report, so we've duly noted. Thank you very much.
Agreed.
And the last item is the date of the next meeting. So we have that as Friday the 15th of September, not December. Can I just check 10 a.m. Friday the 15th of
Yes, Chair, September. I can confirm that we are at 10 a.m.
Lovely.
on the 15th.
Thank you. Thank you, members, and thank you for your time today.